Greetings, everybody. I feel like telling you a story time. When I was 4+ years old, I went to live with my aunt in Clarendon. So I was born in Kingston and I grew up in Clarendon. And then when I was 17, I went back to live in Spanish Town, which is in St. Catherine. My last trip to Jamaica, I was able to visit another parish. And now I'm up to 13 parishes in Jamaica that I have traveled. And all I have to see now is one, which is Portland. So I've never been to Portland, but I've finally covered 13 parishes. And so um, the next trip, I'm going to make sure I go to Portland. Anyway, I grew up in Clarendon with my aunt and her husband. When I first went to live with her, I think it's probably one semester or so because I know when I went, it was school time, but I didn't go to school because I didn't have a birth certificate. So 4+, by the time I would have gone in the new year, I would have already been 5 years old. And so where she lived, we have neighbors and everything, but it's country. So, everybody has a lot of land and they had a lot of citrus tree on their land and they relied on, farming. They would sell their oranges. They would sell coffee. If any of you grew up in Jamaica and grew up in the countryside, you know what I'm talking about. They would sell their cocoa too, the same cocoa they used to make chocolate. And there are times when they would stop us from school and we would go into the coffee walk, or they call it coffee piece, and we would bend down the tree and pick coffee, and they would put it in the box and sell it to a truck that goes through. Anyway, when I went to live with her on her farm, her son was 21 years old when he died, so I never saw him alive, but I know that was her only biological child. And I really admire that lady because although she lost her only child that she gave birth to, she raised myself, my sister, and another person. She just loved children. So when I went to live with her, she had already adopted my two other siblings. But what I want to tell you in this video is very important. At least it's important to me. So where her son died, she buried him in her yard. And it's just customary for my aunt to do that. Her husband died before she did, and she also buried him in front of her house for whatever reason. But her son passed away at 21 years old, and I'm sure it was a very horrible time for her. I'm sure she grieved a lot. She could never call his name without saying poor Dick, so I suppose his name was Dick, and she always referred to him as poor Dick when he died. He just went to play football and just came home with a headache and passed away. And I think that's a very common thing in Jamaica. A lot of people lose their kids that way. Nevertheless, as a 4+, almost 5-year-old kid, when I get up in the morning, I would run around. There was no other kids to play with. I would climb into the grave. Now, again, if you're Jamaican, they make the grave with the headstone like a Bible open, and then there's a little opening in it. I used to go in there and I used to lie down on the part that looks like a Bible, and I would spend my entire day in this thing. She's never ever said get out of it. She used to chop it out every morning, sweep around it, and all of that. Now, I did that for the longest while. That was my dollhouse, the grave, the grave. I used to climb in it, and it used to be my dollhouse. Now, I believe in the ancestors, and I believe the spirit of your forebears are always around you, and but I think I connected with the spirit of her son. I've never ever told this story before, but I'm telling it today because I'm just realizing some things. I used to sleep on the grave. And I'll find a picture and I'll post it in my community chat area. Wow. So for years, I'd be going through some things that would break a lot of people that almost broke me, and had some things that I didn't understand happen. Sometimes wondering, how did you escape this thing? How did you get away from this? Literally hearing sometimes like whispers. And I've heard people say on this channel, oh, be careful of those voices. I love those voices, by the way. I love those voices. Excuse me. When you watch this video, my fingers gonna be in the way. Just ignore that. It's the way I'm holding the camera. The spirit of our forebears still live with us and around us. If you don't believe in those things, just exit out of this video right now and wait for another one where you can identify with, or you don't find to be uncomfortable. I respect your feeling. But for those who believe this stuff and understand this stuff, I was walking through the mall recently, and I saw this female walking. She had like a shadow following her. It was almost creepy. It was like a shadow over and over her. Now, if it was good or bad, I don't know. But I asked her if she ever felt like she had company, and she says yes, all the time. But I didn't say anything to her. Just left it at that. This spirit has never left me. And I never thought of what I used to do as a child until recently. Listen, when people pass away, the the physical body, disintegrates, but the spirit still lives on. Your grandmother, your mother, whomever still come back and protect you. That's why, you know, sometimes we grieve so badly when we lose our friends and our loved ones, but they're still with you. It just depends on how you embrace them or you accept them and how they can work in your life. Nothing, energy never dies. It just takes different forms. Just remember that. I'm not saying anything else in this video. Share your stories. The time when something happened to you and you couldn't explain it, you didn't understand it. Or if you don't believe in these things, say you don't believe. I don't care. Stay blessed.